We continue learning Kitzur Yomi. We begin Simin Yud Zayin, the halachos of Krias Shema. In the wonderful article Akdam over here, they point out that we have an obligation to say Shema twice. V'shinanta levanecha v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veisecha v'lachtecha v'aderech v'shachvecha uv'kumecha, which Chazal teach us means both in the morning and at night. There's three parts of Shema: Shema, V'hayim, Shemaya, and Vayomer. Teaches the Kitzur Sif Aleph. Haschol Zman Krias Shachris. What is the beginning? What is the earliest time? You could say Shema Hu Kamay Zman Tefillin. It's the same as we learned in Zman of Tefillin above in Simin Yod. V'nimshach Zmana. And its Zman continues ad Revi'as Hayoim until a quarter of the day. So the earliest time, note 5 points out, is what we would call Mishayakir. You could see a friend, an acquaintance, and it goes until Revi'as a day, a quarter of the day. And note 6 points out, B'kumecha, says Mishtabura, that you could fulfill it until this time. However, there of course is the lechatchila to do it as early as possible. Says the Kitzur, Ben Shem Aruch, Ben Shu Katzar, whether the day is long, whether the day is short. So you want to calculate this, you have to figure out sha'ois, zemaniois. It goes from alois until tseis, and then you have to divide up the day, and a quarter of the day that is seif zman Krias Shema, and that is the mitzvah. The best is the cross kivasikin to say it in the morning kivasikin. Those who are mechavin in the mitzvahs love the mitzvahs. Shei mechavin likreisai. They have in mind to read it ma'at kodim nitzacham, a little bit before Nate. Why? So you finish Berach Shema and brachas im hanitzacham exactly at sunrise, and then v'yisuch la tefillah. And Shemonesi is right next door. And Mishuch lechamin lasses can be able to do this. Scharai meruba me'oid. One has a lot of schar. No point 12 points out from the Mishabru and Ches. He has a share in Olam Haba, and he will not have harm in his day. Valkolpanim. It says the Kitzur, a lot of care. You should not say Shema late. But for Rabbi Musa Kayitz reminds the Kitzur Kishem Aruch L'Mdinaseinu Pam Yisayv Azman Ukaydem Zibin Haibin. Before even 7 o'clock in the morning, says the Kitzur. You got to be careful. Note 14 points out, we're wondering, wait, Sofsan Kishma is never that early. Points out so perfectly that the Kitzur was written in Hungary. There's no deal at savings time, and therefore they had such an early Zman Krias Shema. We do not have such a thing. It gets early, but never that early. Kol Makah b'di'evid amavar azman. Tez the Kitzur if you messed up. Motor likroids Krias Shema and berachisa ad shlosh hayoim. You'll have to read Krias Shema with the brachas until a third of the day. Yisokah say Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvaysav v'tzivan of lachar shlosh hayoim aser loymar habrachas. The Kitzur paskins, you're not allowed to say the brachas anymore. El oymar Krias Shema levad v'afilu kol hayoim v'yeshav ni'am brachas yochel omer kol hayoim. And then he quotes the Pri Chadash. Then holds you could say Berachas Krias Shema the whole day. However, note 17 points out from the Bir Halacha that Lamaisa, this is not how we really hold, and therefore one should really not do it past Zeif Siman Tefillah, perhaps until Chatzos. Sif Beis Matalikos Krias Shema Ben Yoshev Ben Oimid, sitting or standing, but if you're sitting, also lahachmir v'lamod, you're not allowed to be machmir and quickly v'lamoid and stand for this purpose. And the reason being, note 18 points out, and those Gemara and Brachos is machlekes v'shachlav kumecha. Beis Shammai says it means physically lying and sitting. Beis Hillel says no, it's the time of the day. We paskin like Beis Hillel, and therefore you have to be careful not to show that you're doing like Beis Shammai. And therefore, if for some reason you want to stand, which gives you more kavanah, for example, you're allowed to, you're not allowed to. If you're doing it stam, it's one thing, but if you do something that shows, as the Kitzur said, if you're sitting and you go and you stand up, that you should not do. You should not lie down. If you're already lying down, see the mamish v'yikar, you shall lean a little bit on the side and say Shema. But if you chaylik sas a kashal lishkav tzida, you can't sit up mamish. Mikol makom mechiv lahatas atzon ksas al tzida, sit up a little bit. Koydim sheyaschol, before you begin Shema yechavin lotzis mitzvahs kriyish, you have in mind. What are we doing? Rabbi Yoitzi, a mitzvahs asay, a biblical commandment of Shema shetzivanu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. U'ba'amrei Shema Yisrael, Yechavin es apirish, you should have in mind what it means. Shema Yisrael, ki Hashem, Shu Elokeinu, that Hashem, who is our God, Hu Hashem Echad, Yachad U'Miyuchad, He is the one and only one and the unique God. B'Shamayim U'V'Aretz. V'yarech beches shel Echad, and you lengthen the ches, Kadesh Yam L'Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Shamayim U'V'Aretz, so that you have in mind that you're being Mamlech Hashem in heaven and earth. U'B'Dalet Yarech Ksas Gamkin, you want to make sure that the Dalet is audible. Shir Sheyachshav Nof, the things Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yachad Ba'Ilama, Hashem is unique in the world. Moshe Baruch Sa'ilam, and He rules over the 4 worlds, like the Dalet's 4. So everyone has heard it's Echad, but again, you want both to pronounce the Ches a little more and the Dalet to be perfectly pronounced. V'yidaktek Shalikalkal Krias Ateva Echad. Don't mess it up. Sometimes you could hear you mamish, you strengthen it out. You're no longer saying the right word. That's me. I'm the people that do this. Yesh Amrim Echad. As the Kitzur shows that if he's doing Echad, then it's not the that's going longer. It's the So now you're saying Echad. It's a different word. Yesh Amrim Echad. Sometimes you have too much on the Dalid, so it's Echad. So that's too long as well. And then says the Kitzur, if you don't know what you're doing, don't try to do it at all. Why? You're going to mess up the words. Shema Yisrael, say it aloud, and you put your right hand in your eyes, you don't see anywhere else. You wait a moment. Why? Because this is the Ikar Shema, says the Rama. Baruch Sheikva Machusai, Li'olam V'ad Chutz B'Bainim Kippurim Sichel Chavin Gamkein Pirush Hamilus. Shayim Me'atziv Dalet. After Baruch Shem, you pause a little bit. V'Imer V'ya Hafta. V'chein Bein Baruch Zul Baruch V'yim Shemaya Yavsik Me'at Chedkoidem V'Yomer. Between each and every parsha Yavsik Me'at V'Chan verses V'Yomer. The third parsha you have in mind, the Kayim Mitzvah Saseh, another biblical commandment of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. I want us to read Krias Shema b'dikta gadol mitoch siddur miduyak keitev, precisely. V'yashmiya la'aznam hashumaytz v'pev, and you want to hear what you say. You want to say the words loud enough to hear them. V'yashkiach, and be careful. Some dagish will become rafa. You don't want to say hard when it's supposed to be soft. Rafa become dagish. You want to say each and every letter properly. V'yafsik kitzatz. You want a little pause. B'chomak shenishay kava, because anytime the siddur has a line, as note 31 points out, that any word that the 2 words could come together, and b'chol levavecha, the lamed could be shtup together, so they put a line there, b'chol levavecha. Says the Kitzur, you want to enunciate the ayin. Now the ayin, it's one of those hard sounds, just Ashkenazim, but you don't want to sound shal yehei nishma kilomer behei. Now, the difference between an ayin and a hey in translation is huge, but in pronunciation for us, Ashkenazim, is not so simple. I've heard from Meir Shiva Reiper that he says that the ayin is more of a guttural sound. It's an ayin, so it's nishba, not nishba. Again, a little bit difficult. You want to make sure that you hear that zayin. Shall uzichartem yidaktik hitev shal nishma kilo omer b'shin. Uschartem. You want to make sure that your zayins are pronounced. You should not signal with your eyes like mitzvasav. Now melt your lips. You should not make any motions. On the second parsha, you're allowed to make motion for a mitzvah. And finally, before Shemi Yisrael, when you say Vavienu in the brach of Havarabba, Avaselam, Neitel sits beyond the Vechus B'Shas Kriya, you hold your tzitzis during Kriya Shema biyad small, so you're holding them in your left hand, being Kemitza Lazeres, Kenega Liba, between the fourth and the little finger, opposite your heart. Then you hold them also in your right hand. You put them in your eyes, when you kiss them. You hold them until the middle of Emes Yatziv. Then you kiss them and you leave them. And even if these halachas might sound simple, but perhaps if we give a little extra focus, we'll say it a little bit better. And of course, these are mitzvah d'oraisa, so we should give it a little extra care.